to growth. Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Real Truth listeners. Today I have Kamyar, right? Did you say it right?
Kamyar, correct.
Kamyar. So I mean, if you guys listen to this podcast, I mean, we've had a couple people in the residential real estate space just because that's the pace that myself, my team are in Southern California. But I think this is the first time we've had people actually from Europe like that in the residential space, but not necessarily in the commercial space. So I believe that this is the first individual we've had in the commercial real estate space. So excited for that. Thank you, Kamyar, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So if anyone's listened to me from previous ones, I mean, I'm horrible when it comes with names. So hopefully I keep on saying it right over time. But if I don't, just feel free to call me out.
We'll do.
All right. So walk me through what's I know boutique is kind of like the tagline. But walk me through kind of what you and your company do.
So we're a concierge boutique, commercial real estate firm. We focus on a lot of buyers looking to buy commercial properties, mainly owner-user. We have done investors and other kind of deals in the past, but our primary focus is a lot of owner-user buildings for, individuals looking to buy their own space and, own their building while doing their business.
So now we're recording this May 2024. Probably the podcast going to probably be sometime June, July if you're listening to this. You could be listening to this in 2 years from now. So, but anyways, we're in May 2024. The space right now, it seems like the commercial space doesn't seem as popping as it was a couple years back before COVID. I mean, what's your perspective on everything?
Absolutely. Prior to COVID, and a year after COVID, it was a very hot market because the rates were very low. Everybody wanted to get in their space. But even as we are in the unique market, like a stagnant inflation market we are in today, a lot of the movement in the commercial space is in the owner-user space. People are realizing they want to own their own buildings. SBA loans are the only loans you can actually get a 25-year fixed amortized over 25 years on. And one of the more important aspects where a lot of business owners are realizing once they own a building is the cost segregation, where they could use the accelerated depreciation in order to pay less taxes in the beginning years of owning the building.
Oh, nice. Okay. And now is it so if it's owner user and the SBA, is it mostly smaller buildings that you're seeing kind of a lot of business owners jumping into?
Between obviously a lot more smaller buildings, but we are seeing buildings in the 10, 20, and $25 million range being, bought with SBA with the 10% down, as long as they qualify via the tax returns.
Gotcha. So 10 to 25 million?
Yes.
Gotcha. So is there a cap? And I mean, you might be listening to this right now and you might know all this kind of stuff, but I'm going to come from questions that maybe I'm not aware of it. And hopefully some people out there are learning on the job. So for the SBA, is there a cap on how much they'll loan up to?
Typically depends what kind of loan. There are two kinds of SBAs. There's an SBA 7A, where typically buildings are capped around, let's say 7 to 10 million. It all depends on the bank and what kind of risk they're willing to take, even though the SBA does guarantee a portion of it. On the 504, I've seen deals go up to 25, 28 million with the 10% down, where the conventional aspect of the loan takes a bigger portion instead of the 50%, they'll go to 70%. The CDC is limited to 5 million or 5.5 million, depending if it's manufacturing or a green project. But overall, an individual can buy up to about, let's say, 40, 45 million average in buildings via the SBA 504 loan as an owner user.
Nice. Okay. Well, the point of the podcast is to kind of hear more of kind of the business owners, the entities, the individuals like yourself to kind of walk us through your roadmap. So run us back. I know you started in residential real estate, but let's talk before that. Did you have a background in real estate? Your parents in real estate, friends in real estate?
I have no background in real estate. What honestly, what led me is I used to tutor back in 2000, about, what is it, started in 1996, 97 while in high school. I was tutoring. While going to UCLA, I continued my tutoring. In my last year of UCLA, my father was refinancing one of his investment properties, and the gentleman that came to sign the final loan docs, I was next to my father while he was signing the loan docs, and he was not really doing a good job in terms of customer service, explaining what's going on, what my father was getting himself into. And that was the first time I really realized I think I can do a better job at what this gentleman's doing and hold the client's hand from A to Z. So that was really my first experience. My parents were never into real estate or any of that sort, but my father is a CPA. So, after I graduated UCLA, I started working for a mortgage company, and assumed after that, I realized, this is kind of what I want to be in for the rest of my life. So in about 9 months after I started in that field, I went and got my agent license in March of 2004. And then December of 2004, I'm like, I have my, bachelor's degree from UCLA. I can become a broker. I don't need any years of experience. So I took my broker's license, got my broker degree, and started my company in 2005. Obviously, when I started in 2005, it was a hot market. There was everybody was buying. You had the unique loans, 100%. No documentation needed, and that led us really to the 2008 downfall of what happened in the economy. 2008, a lot of my partners, other people in the industry really left the industry. There was no money to be made. I can easily say about 70-75% left the industry, and the ones who stayed really were the ones who had the referrals or just had to change their model of how they're doing business. And one of the models that I started doing to be able to help people and stay in the industry was I started doing the loan modification for a lot of individuals to help them save their homes. They were behind on payments, decrease their rates to, let's say, as low as 1.5%, 2%, sometimes on a 30-year fix for them. All their back payments were deferred to the back of the loan, but that just allowed them to stay in the house and have a roof over their head. Obviously, in that in that time frame, a lot of other companies were in the industry. They really took a lot of people's money, didn't help with loan mods, and left. But I stayed in there. I saw this as an opportunity to grow my business and come out stronger once the economy was going to go back to normal. And meanwhile, while doing that, individuals that were helping were in the higher echelon, in the bigger homes, and more involved in the commercial real estate space. So dealing with them, I'm like, you know what? I really want to switch the commercial real estate aspect, help people get loans, and help them buy their buildings. So meanwhile, doing these loan mods, I started, did 1 or 2 transactions in the commercial real estate space, and I really enjoyed it. So starting then, I really focused more on the commercial real estate aspect, and all those people that I helped in the loan mod time, they became my clients. I helped them keep their homes, so they're like, we're going to always stay with you. You really helped our families. So that really was my base of clientele for when I started back in 2000, about 9-10 in the commercial real estate space. And here I am today, still dealing with them. They've given me a lot of referrals. I thank them very much for that. And, I still do the residential space for my previous clients since I have them from 2004-05. But my main line of business is commercial real estate services, loans, and on the buyer side.
So a couple things that popped out at me. One, it's the story that your dad was getting helped in the real estate space and the realtor wasn't doing a good job, or you thought they could do done better. It's that story right there seems like I've heard of that a lot with a lot of other realtors, that the barrier of entry in real estate can be fairly low. And because it's fairly low, you have some people that maybe are not the best ambassadors of the business, and it kind of says, I can do better than that person. So that was one thing that definitely popped in my head. And the second one was when you transitioned from residential real estate, not fully, but I guess maybe added on that feature to commercial. Did you, and I know you do residential now, did you build a team, build a structure to allow you to do all the different entities? Like, okay, because commercial space, it's a lot more, in my opinion, a lot more prospecting with other commercial business owners or commercial realtors than residential is. There's still that networking, but it seems like it's a little more in depth. Would you say so?
What happened is during that time, I was visiting a lot of business brokers and CPAs. There were my C of O's, right? Center of Influence. So that when I reached out to them, be like, I'm doing this. This is what I'm offering. I'm able to get loans, because a lot of the banks and a lot of other people were just like, they weren't able to really perform on the loan side. So you get a lot of people that went into escrow, but they couldn't close their loan. They had to drop out. But I was able to gather a lot of good banks and non-banks that were able to provide the loans and actually close and had the funding source for it. But it was mainly my COIs.
Well, I mean, more so for the businesses. Like, I mean, from what I understand, the commercial space, I've only dabbled in it a little bit. Our team is primarily residential, but a lot more transactions happen off market in commercial space than it does in the residential space.
It does. Before, absolutely, during the time, maybe yes. Right now, it's not as much as before.
Gotcha. Okay.
But during that time, yes, it did happen. A lot of people didn't want their properties listed. They wanted to be traded offline.
So did you change the way that you were doing business? I mean, in the residential space, right? You're dealing with individuals about buying or selling, right? Like getting their dreams. And you got to the modification. You had those entities that now wanted to buy properties. Now to find those properties, it wasn't like you're going, on LoopNet or Crexy or all those kind of platforms. Were you probably also networking? I'm guessing with commercial real estate.
I was networking in CoStar.
Okay, CoStar. Okay.
Yes, CoStar is the MLS of the commercial space. So we were a lot on those. And a lot of the people that I got during the time when I was doing the loan mods, they had a lot of properties and a lot of friends and so forth. So they fed me like my client or my friend wants to sell, buy. So I was getting a lot of referrals to that source.
Gotcha. Okay. So you had now the products or the individuals and you were leveraging them and going most of your stuff off CoStar. Was anything else in your business having to change? Did you have to bring on like new admin support, or what did that kind of look like in switching over?
Right. I definitely had to bring on new admin and new processors, but since the beginning and up to today, and I plan to be always the face of the company and the hands-on. I always deal with the client up front. I do like pass them to my assistant once we are in escrow and stuff, but I always maintain all my clients and I'm on top of all my files myself personally. But I do have processors and admins in the background.
So as a business owner, what do you feel like your secret sauce is to kind of allow the expansion and allow the growth?
It's mainly, holding the client's hand from A to Z, being there to answer the calls, every day of the week, any hour. I don't have limitations. Like, don't call me this time. I'm always available. Even if I'm on vacation, I'm working. I have my cell phone next to me. If they call, I pick up.
So
it's really big.
You've never, what you said, you started in the business in 2004, right?
Correct. Yes.
20 years. So you're saying basically your phone is always readily available. You're never off limits.
Yes, correct.
Oh my gosh, man. Take a break, turn your phone off, man. That's a lot of stress right there.
That is one of the secrets of the sauce of our industry. We do have a lot of competition. There's a lot of people out there either entering or exiting, but you always have to be available for your clients at any time.
Are you married?
I was married. I'm divorced.
Okay. So do you have a girlfriend now or someone, a significant other?
No.
Okay.
Single right now.
So with and you can say no, because there's an interesting always thing of talking to business owners on here, right? Where they merge their family life with their business, right? And figuring out how do you kind of separate it. So, looking back on that relationship or maybe looking into future relationships, do you think there'll be a way to separate it, or is it just basically who you are and it's never going to be a separation?
It's not really a separation. I let them know up front, this is my business. This is what pays the bills.
Yeah.
And this is just my character. It's either they have to accept for who I am, how I am.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you think the way you've looked at businesses has evolved? I'm assuming it has, but has it evolved over those 20 years of how you look at it, how you do it, or?
Correct. It has definitely evolved based on my experiences, based on how the transactions have worked. It definitely has evolved. Especially right now, we're in a very unique period of this AI coming in. So a lot of people in my situation, like, okay, how is this going to affect me? Are we going to get replaced by the robots or not? Which I don't think, not at this point. But it definitely has evolved. I'm looking to grow. And my main line of business is all referrals from previous clients.
Wow. Okay. So 100% to you. Do you incorporate AI into your processes? Are you looking at bringing up? Yeah.
We're looking to incorporate it, with the ChatGPT. Obviously, you're getting a lot of these listing descriptions are all based on ChatGPT, a lot of this other stuff. But as we go forward, we're definitely looking to incorporate it.
And you said you're starting to put a podcast together. So I guess your marketing is you're trying to expand your marketing. So not strictly just your sphere, but also kind of expanding it to new clients.
Correct. Yeah, we have a podcast on YouTube called Minds of Commercial Real Estate. A new one goes out every Saturday morning at 8:15 Pacific Standard Time. And what I'm trying to put out there is, information. People see what's going on in commercial. A lot of people obviously know more about the residential sector. When it comes to commercial, there's a fear amongst people. What's out there? What is it? How do we get into it? Are we able to get into it? And I'm just allowing people to see what's out there. What are the, based on insurance, based on the broker and escrow, a title company, what's involved, and they can always reach out to learn more.
So I know you talked about the perception, right? That people know more about residential and less about commercial and that kind of stuff. I mean, I would even say that there's a big portion of people out there that probably look at residential as, salespeople or car salesmen, right? That kind of stuff. I mean, what do you think the perception is of commercial realtors?
It's hard. It's hard to put a word on it. I mean, they're obviously more experienced. They're dealing with a different echelon of people. I would say there are people that are more have dealt with more money. Either they're either trust fund kids who have had a lot of properties that have been transferred over to them, or they just at a young age they were introduced to the commercial field and entered it at the right time.
Gotcha. So how do you? And I'm guessing it's through the podcast, right? Because we all know kind of what the baggage is that is associated with our business, and we try to find ways to change that mindset, right? So Correct. What have you done, or what are you doing to help change that mindset to show that you're not like everyone else?
I'm just showing. What I do is I really explain to them, what's involved, how, depending on what their personal financial statement looks like, and how much vulnerability they have, how much they're willing to risk. I show them these are the steps. This is what you get yourself into. These are different types of properties. What do you feel most comfortable with? And for a lot of people that go into the commercial real estate space, I feel that they first buy their own 1 or 2 buildings to get their hand and feet wet, right? See what's involved. They're in it. They're paying it, and then they see, okay, well maybe I can buy another building and occupy a portion of it, and a portion of the remainder I can rent it out and see how to deal with the tenants and so forth. And then based on that experience, they would buy another building that's all, tenant based or investment.
Do you, when you're, and I know you kind of talked about 2008, we've talked a little about kind of like what you do, your sphere of influence and kind of growing it. There's times where you're like, okay, I need more business, or things are going wrong. What do you do to get through those times? What's your process?
Through those times, I honestly, if when it comes to times where you don't have that much going on, I really reach out to my center of influences and I go to networking events.
But is there any kind of negative mindset that seeps into your head, or I can't do this, or I need to switch careers? You said in 2008, right? There was majority of people were either leaving the business or adding on other features. So that had to probably be scary, I would think.
It was very scary. It's basically you have to learn how to maneuver the economy and how to make ends meet during those times just to survive, to be able to move on. I never think about going to another career. I love what I do. I love helping people, putting them in buildings, getting them into nice rates, and just formulating a good goal for them over a 30-year period.
So you're saying in 20 years there's never a doubt in your head? You're like, oh my gosh, that pain in the ass client right there.
Never wanted to switch, never will switch, I think, in my head.
Well, will you ever expand, you think, into other platforms? I know you talk modification, commercial with residential. Is there another platform you might expand into?
At this point, not really. Honestly, there's a lot involved in the commercial space. I think, the world's being connected through all these different social medias, everything. I don't look at myself going to another field or another platform at this point. I enjoy dealing with the commercial real estate space. I enjoy, those clientele. And I look forward to expanding their portfolios. And I'm, right behind them to buy them a new building and give them the right loan.
So if we were talking in 10 years from now, what would be different about you and your company that you haven't done currently?
I probably at that time, depending on how many clientele you have, I would not take on too many new clients and just work on my the clients I have in the books.
So you think that's the only thing that's going to change? So you might just basically go back to only your sphere?
Go back to my sphere, and depending how AI changes our, industry.
Well, what do you, worst case, best case scenario, what do you think for AI?
I think it's going to take over a lot of the jobs, a lot of the assistant jobs, a lot of the, the easy paperwork, and the job. But that's, I think, maybe best case. Worst case, I think maybe, 70% of the people in the industry might be out.
Wow. That big, huh?
It can be. Yeah. I mean, AI is definitely, making a big, big difference. And I think with a lot of the paper movements that I think the AI is going to be able to handle. But in terms of obviously, getting the sale, being in front of people, they're not going to be able to.
So 70% is a huge number. So are there steps you're taking now to protect yourself that you're not one of those 70?
Well, those are more people on the back end, I would say, and
Okay.
the transaction coordinators. But if you're dealing directly with clients, it's hard for AI to replace you. You're the face. They trust you because of who you are, what you've done for them in the past, or because of the referral that you come from.
Well, what happens if we get computers that or not robots that are actually walking around? Now it's like
that depends on the new generation, right? Like you have the new generation right now that's people like to text and they don't like to talk. And maybe the new generation coming out now and they're dealing, from a young age dealing with robots and iPads. Maybe they don't want to deal with people anymore and they just want to deal with robots.
yeah, I mean, I agree with your sentiment. I'm pushing back. I mean, I think there's going to be a point where people they're going to get overwhelmed with basically talking to computers, and they're going to say, I just want to talk to a person. Give me a person, I'll pay extra what I got to do. I mean, yeah.
It's the emotions, it's the interaction that people are looking for. I deal with a lot of the older generation that are still, honestly, they deal with fax machines. They don't deal with computers. I still have a couple clientels like that. You have to be able to maneuver and just be able to deal with the different generations.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's that live interaction is such a huge thing.
We grew up on the streets, enjoying the streets, playing football. We didn't have iPads or anything when we grew up. All that information, we had to go to the library and find that book in that one shelf to write that essay.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Agoura Hills.
Where's that?
Agoura Hills is after the San Fernando Valley on the north side. Agoura, Westlake, Thousand Oaks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do you still live kind of proximity close to?
I do live about 10-15 minutes away. I live in Calabasas.
Gotcha. So close to, I guess, one of the last questions, but I'm curious, what makes you want to stay in LA and never leave LA?
My family's here. We all immigrated, about 38 years ago here. My whole family lives within 10 minutes away from me. And I enjoy, the times I have with the family. It's hard to be away. And one of the more important things I would say is in my field is once you have a good group of clientele, at this age, going to go to a new city and start over and trying to put all those together, it's going to be tough.
Where did you immigrate from? Or where did your family immigrate?
Iran. Persian.
How old are you?
I was 6 years old.
I mean, and again, I've had people on here that have immigrated and come from other countries, and it's always interesting hearing the mindset of, I mean, how we have it here, kind of going through problems, things like that. I mean, how do you think that has played a factor into your business?
You work harder because you know what's going on back where I'm originally from, and the tough times they're dealing with. You work harder to make it here and be comfortable.
Do you think the people in your field, some people in your field, you see them as lazy?
There's definitely those kind of people who come in, maybe do 2-3 deals. They get a good amount of money. They think it's always going to be like that. And then once that money runs out, they're like, oh boy, I should have continued. But there's a lot of people in the industry that are lazy, I believe. They don't work as hard as they can.
And this is something that I always kind of thought about, that the barrier of entry for commercial is higher than residential. So it seems like those boundaries of, okay, I don't work the weekends, I don't work these hours, is more allowed, I guess, in the commercial space. Do you foresee that changing? Or do you not believe in that? I guess.
I don't believe in that. I still have clients that text me on a Saturday night, 8, 9, while I'm at dinner. I text them back. They're like, I want to see this building Monday morning.
Well, I mean yourself, but as a whole.
As a whole, definitely they don't work in the commercial real estate space. They don't work the weekends and the afternoons, or I'm sorry, the evenings. Correct.
Do you think that's going to change though as a whole, or you think that's basically you're just an outlier?
I think that will change. I mean, look, again, it depends on the people who are in the industry or are new to the industry. If they're out there, they're allowing themselves to be available. I think they'll be able to take on clients versus the ones that said, no, I'm not available till Monday morning or after, Friday at 5. Don't contact me until Monday.
Well, thank you, Kamyar, for being on the Road Tour with podcast. What's the best way if people are having questions about real estate in the LA area, about commercial or residential? What's the best way of getting in contact with you?
They can either call me on my mobile, they can email me, call the office, whichever they're comfortable, they can reach me.
You want to give it your mobile on the podcast?
Sure. It's 818-822-8044.
Great. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening, Kamyar. Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of commercial agents. I mean, I've done a little commercial stuff and with our team. But yeah, I mean, I've never dealt with Kamyar, but the stuff he's talking about got me intrigued. So if I was in the LA area, he's definitely someone that I want to reach out to about the commercial space, or at least getting some information on the SBA loan. So if you're curious, you own a business, I mean, it doesn't hurt to at least have a consultation, know what's possible, know what's doable. And if he's willing to take the time to talk to you and show you kind of what's possible, again, how does it really hurt? I mean, I've had people in the residential space that have rented for, I mean, you talk to them and they rent for 30 years. That was like a couple months back. I remember this one, 30 years. They basically paid someone's off his mortgage. So just imagine in the business space, in the commercial space, if you've been renting, leasing your space for how many years, could you have bought that space and then, bought something else? I mean, anything's possible out there. So please go in the show notes, go find Kamyar. We do have a sponsor here, Melody Cloud. They're in the show notes. And then if you need any real estate a little bit low, Kamyar, so not in LA, in San Diego, please reach out to the Enriquez Group. We're here to help you out with all your real estate needs. I'm going to finish off one last question, Kamyar, before we cut it off. Now, when your dad has bought real estate after that bad transaction of once you got into the business, does he use you or does he go back to that previous agent?
He uses me.
There you go. All right, guys, please subscribe, please share, and go find Kamyar. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for having me on.